A limited number of people were seen circling Islam's holiest site in Mecca.
Did you know that the Book of Revelation in the Christian doctrine paints a vivid picture of the beast, an embodiment of ultimate evil, and its possible symbolic ties to Islamic landmarks? This startling perspective sheds light on the Kaaba in Mecca, a central element in Islamic worship, as it might be seen through the prophetic Christian lens. In Mecca, the Kaaba stands as a central focus for Islamic rituals. This cubic structure, draped in a black silk cloth, is not just an architectural marvel, but a symbol of unity for Muslims worldwide. Devotees, clothed in simple white garments, perform the act of Tawaf, where they circulate the Kaaba 7 times. This ritual, deeply rooted in Islamic tradition, represents the idea of life revolving around spiritual commitment and the remembrance of God. It's a powerful display of devotion, with the unison movement of the pilgrims symbolizing harmony and equality in the eyes of their faith. The black stone, set in the eastern corner of the Kaaba, holds a special place in Islamic history and tradition. Its significance stems not from the notion of idol worship, which is strictly opposed in Islam, but from its historical and religious context. According to Islamic teachings, this stone is believed to date back to the era of Adam and Eve. Treated with reverence, the act of touching or kissing the black stone is seen as a gesture of respect and a reaffirmation of the believer's faith. In the Christian doctrine, Jesus Christ's teachings emphasize the avoidance of idolatry and the worship of false gods. Idolatry, in this context, is understood as the veneration of any object or being as divine, other than the one true God. This is closely tied to the Christian understanding of fallen angels, beings that were cast out of heaven for their rebellion against God. Jesus' message often highlights the importance of worship directed solely towards God and the dangers of being led astray by false deities or spiritual entities that seek worship for themselves. The Book of Revelation, a prophetic text in the New Testament, introduces the concept of the beast, a symbol of ultimate evil and opposition to God. The beast is often interpreted as a representation of anti-God systems or figures, encompassing both political and spiritual dimensions. Its depiction is rich in symbolic imagery, with the beast arising from the sea, having multiple heads and horns, symbolizing its power and blasphemous nature. In Christian eschatology, the beast is closely associated with Satan, the embodiment of evil, and the false prophet, a deceiver who promotes the worship of the beast. This unholy trinity is seen as working together to mislead humanity, drawing people away from the truth of God. The false prophet, in particular, is depicted as performing miracles and wonders to deceive even the faithful, compelling them to worship the beast. The beast, as depicted in the Bible, particularly in the Book of Revelation, is an entity that symbolizes great evil and opposition to divine authority. Its origin is often linked to ancient Babylon, a representation of a corrupt and idolatrous system that defies God. The beast is described as having a formidable presence, signifying its power and influence over people and nations. Its nature is complex, embodying both a literal and metaphorical significance in biblical texts, serving as a warning against the allure and deceit of power that stands against divine law. In biblical narratives, the beast's activities are closely associated with Babylon, known for its historical grandeur and spiritual waywardness. The city symbolizes the pinnacle of human pride and rebellion against God. The beast, within this context, is seen as a leader or force that embodies these characteristics, leading people into idolatry and moral decay. According to prophecy, this entity's influence diminishes when it is confined to a spiritual prison, referred to as the abyss, symbolizing God's control over evil and the eventual triumph of good. Prophetic texts in the Bible foretell the eventual emergence of the beast from its confinement, signifying a period of great turmoil and deception. This emergence is often interpreted as a time when evil will have a significant, albeit temporary, impact on the world. The prophecies also assure that the ultimate destruction of the beast is inevitable, aligning with the Christian belief in the final victory of good over evil. In Christianity, Jesus Christ is revered as the Son of God and the second person of the Holy Trinity. The Christian doctrine emphasizes his divine nature, viewing him as both fully God and fully human. His life, death, and resurrection are central to the Christian faith, symbolizing the ultimate act of love and sacrifice for the salvation of humanity. The crucifixion is seen as the fulfillment of God's plan to redeem mankind from sin, and the resurrection is a testament to Jesus' victory over death, affirming his divinity. In contrast, Islam regards Jesus, Isa in Arabic, as one of the most important prophets, but not divine. Muslims respect and honor Jesus for his pious life and his role as a messenger of God, but they firmly reject the notion of his divinity and the concept of the Trinity, which they see as incompatible with the Islamic principle of Tawhid, the absolute oneness of God. The Quran acknowledges Jesus' virgin birth and attributes various miracles to him, but it denies the crucifixion, asserting instead that Jesus was not crucified, but was raised by God. In recent years, there has been a notable shift in religious education and worship practices, influenced by broader societal changes and the increasing pluralism of beliefs. Public education systems in various parts of the world now offer a more inclusive and diverse perspective on religious studies, moving away from a singular focus on traditional doctrines. This inclusivity, while promoting understanding and tolerance, also raises concerns among some religious communities about the dilution of core religious teachings and the potential influence of secular or alternative spiritual viewpoints on young believers. For many Christian communities, adherence to biblical teachings remains paramount. There is a growing concern that modern interpretations and practices might lead to a departure from traditional Christian values and principles. These concerns are often centered around issues like moral relativism, the erosion of religious authority, and the potential for syncretism, where elements of different religions are blended, potentially undermining the distinctiveness of Christian doctrine. The emphasis is on the need for education and worship practices that align with biblical truths to preserve the integrity of the faith. The challenge facing religious communities today is how to maintain the essence of their faith while navigating a rapidly changing world. This involves balancing respect for traditional teachings with the realities of contemporary society. For Christians, this means upholding the core messages of the Bible, while for Muslims and followers of other faiths, it involves a similar commitment to their respective scriptures and teachings. The Kaaba, a cubical structure located in the heart of Mecca, holds immense significance in Islam. It is considered the house of God and a focal point for Muslim worship. The black stone, embedded in one corner of the Kaaba, is an object of reverence for Muslims. This reverence, however, is not due to any belief in the stone's intrinsic power, but rather as a symbol of divine covenant and history. It is believed to date back to the time of Prophet Abraham and is respected as a link to the early history of monotheism. The Kaaba plays a central role in Islamic worship, particularly in the practice of salat, prayer. Muslims around the world face the Kaaba during their daily prayers, a practice known as Qibla. This unified direction of prayer symbolizes the concept of Ummah, or the global community of Muslims, united in their worship of one God. The annual pilgrimage to the Kaaba, known as Hajj, is a pillar of Islam and represents one of the most significant acts of faith a Muslim can undertake. It's a time for spiritual renewal and a demonstration of the equality and unity of believers. The Kaaba is deeply rooted in Islamic tradition and history. It is believed to have been built and rebuilt several times throughout history, with the most recent reconstruction attributed to Prophet Muhammad. This act further solidified the Kaaba's status as a symbol of Islamic identity and continuity. In Christian eschatology, the emergence of the beast, as depicted in the book of Revelation, is a significant event signaling the approach of the end times. This prophetic vision is interpreted as a period where a powerful, deceptive entity, often linked symbolically to oppressive systems or figures, rises to prominence. This emergence is seen as a test of faith, where believers are cautioned against being swayed by the beast's influence, which stands in direct opposition to Christian teachings. The concept of the abyss in biblical texts is often interpreted as a spiritual prison or a realm of confinement for demonic entities. The beast's temporary confinement in the abyss and its eventual release are symbolic of the cyclical nature of evil and its persistent presence in the world. This confinement and subsequent release serve as a reminder of the ongoing spiritual battle between good and evil, and the ultimate authority of God over all creation, including malevolent forces. Central to Christian belief in the end times is the return of Jesus Christ. This event is anticipated as a moment of ultimate redemption and the fulfillment of God's promise of salvation. The final judgment that accompanies his return involves the defeat and destruction of the beast and all forces of evil. This apocalyptic scenario underscores the Christian doctrine of the triumph of good over evil and the establishment of a new, righteous order. The beast's worship represents a seduction into idolatry and a departure from true faith. Such actions, according to Christian doctrine, have serious spiritual consequences, leading individuals away from the path of salvation and aligning them with forces opposed to the divine. And that's all for this video. Hit that subscribe button if you want to watch more amazing videos like this.